Let me ask you something. Have you ever worked so hard to lose weight? I mean, you felt that incredible surge of pride, that feeling of accomplishment, only to watch, just frustrated as it all mysteriously creeps back on. If that sounds familiar, I want you to know you are so far from being alone. And what's even more important is this: it is not your fault. Today, we're going on a journey, a deep dive inside the human body. And we're not looking for blame, we're looking for answers. We're here to pull back the curtain on the myths and really explore the powerful hidden biology that makes keeping weight off one of the toughest challenges so many of us will ever face. Welcome to Deep Dive by Psycho Relaxation. For the next little while, let's just agree to step away from all that noise, the quick-fix diets, the self-criticism. Instead, we're going to bring a little gentle curiosity to the table and try to understand the incredible story our own bodies are trying to tell us. So let's start with the big question, the one that probably echoes in the minds of millions of people. Why in the world is keeping weight off so much harder than losing it was, right? You put in all the effort, you followed all the rules, you saw the results on the scale, and then something just shifts. The momentum, it just fades. The hunger comes back, but with a vengeance this time. And the weight, well, it seems like it has a mind of its own, just determined to return. So what is really going on in that gap between losing the weight and actually keeping it off for good? Okay, let's get right into the heart of it, because the answer is not what most of us have been told our entire lives. This is not a story about a failure of willpower, or a lack of discipline, or some kind of personal weakness. No. The real story is so much more complex, and honestly, it's way more fascinating. It's a story written deep inside of us, in the complex, and sometimes really stubborn, language of our hormones, the ancient reward circuits wired into our brains, and the very code of our DNA, a code that was written for a world that frankly doesn't exist anymore. So here's our game plan, the roadmap for this journey. First up, we're going to explore what I call the weight loss paradox, really get into the emotional side of it. From there, we'll put on our detective hats and start decoding your body's survival code. Then, we'll take a look at how our modern brain gets fired up by food. After that, we'll zoom way out to look at our ancient genetic blueprint, discover this hidden world living right inside you, and then, at the end, we'll put all the pieces together to see how we can start to navigate our biology with a little more compassion and a lot more wisdom. All right, let's begin where this struggle really hits home. Not in our cells, but in our hearts and our minds. Because before we can really appreciate the science, we have to just sit with the profound emotional and psychological weight of this entire journey. This quote, it's just staggering. It comes from a woman named Sarah, and it gets right to the brutal core of the issue. This isn't just about being disappointed. That cycle of losing and regaining weight can create this deep, gut-wrenching sense of hopelessness and failure. It can really feel like your own body is betraying you, like you're fighting this secret battle every single day. Sarah's words, they remind us this is not some trivial thing about vanity. It can become an all-consuming struggle that has a truly devastating impact on a person's mental health, on their very will to keep going. And right here, this is the crucial shift in perspective we all need to make. While you see your diet as this amazing, positive step towards health and well-being, your body, it perceives something completely different. From a biological standpoint, a system that has been fine-tuned over hundreds of thousands of years, losing a bunch of weight isn't a victory, it's a 5-alarm fire. It's a famine. It is a direct threat to your survival. And your body, in its ancient wisdom, has an incredibly sophisticated and powerful defense system that is designed to fight back and protect you from that perceived threat. So let's take a look at that first line of defense. It is a persistent, powerful, and almost entirely unconscious hormonal alarm system. It gets triggered the very moment your body senses its energy stores are shrinking. And this isn't a system you can just outsmart or ignore with willpower. Nope. It's as automatic as breathing, and it has one single goal: to restore what was lost. Now, to understand this alarm, we need to meet the two main players on the field. First up, we've got leptin. I want you to think of leptin as your body's minister of plenty. It's a hormone made by your fat cells. So when you have plenty of energy stored up as fat, your fat cells release lots of leptin. It travels up to your brain and delivers this calm, reassuring message. Hey, all is well down here. Our fuel tanks are full. You can relax. No need to be ravenously hungry. It's your body's natural off switch for your appetite.
And the second key player? That would be ghrelin. And if leptin is the minister of plenty, ghrelin is the loud, obnoxious minister of hunger. It's made mostly in your stomach, especially when it's empty. Ghrelin is literally the hormone that makes your stomach growl. It travels to your brain with a much more urgent message. Emergency! Fuel reserves are critical. We need to find food, like right now. It is the on switch for your appetite, and it is a powerful motivator to go seek out calories.
Okay, so what happens when you actually go on a diet and start losing weight? Well, this slide basically shows the perfect storm that starts brewing inside of you. As you lose weight, your fat cells shrink. And as they shrink, they produce way less leptin. So that I'm full signal going to your brain, it becomes a tiny whisper. And at the exact same time, your body, sensing this energy deficit, starts cranking up the production of ghrelin. So the I'm starving signal becomes a constant, deafening roar. Your brain is now getting hit by this perfectly coordinated two-pronged attack. Less of the I'm full hormone and way more of the I'm starving hormone. The message from your own biology is crystal clear. You are in a famine. Eat. Restore the fat at all costs. And get this. This isn't just some temporary battle you have to fight for a few weeks. What is truly stunning is how long this hormonal rebellion lasts. A landmark study back in 2011, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, followed people after they had successfully lost weight and found that these hormonal changes, the low leptin and the high ghrelin, they didn't just bounce back to normal when the diet ended. Oh no, they stuck around, driving hunger and promoting regain for at least a full year. Can you just imagine trying to fight a daily, hourly battle against your own internal chemistry for 365 days straight? This is your physiology at work, not a flaw in your character. So we have this hormonal alarm system just constantly blaring the famine alarm. But on top of that, there is another, even more primal force at play, one that doesn't really speak to hunger, but to desire. And that's your brain's ancient reward circuitry. This system isn't just about surviving, it's about pleasure, motivation, and that powerful drive to do things. Think about it. Our modern world is just jam-packed with something our ancestors never, ever encountered: hyper-palatable foods. And these things aren't just tasty. They are products scientifically engineered to be irresistible. They have the absolute perfect combination of sugar, fat, and salt to light up our brains like a pinball machine. And a huge and growing body of research shows that these foods can activate the very same dopamine-driven reward pathways in the brain that are stimulated by addictive drugs. And that creates this powerful drive to eat that has almost nothing to do with your body's actual need for energy. Let's zoom in on how this actually works. Deep inside your brain, there's a key reward center called the ventral striatum. You can think of it like a satisfaction sensor. Now, because of your unique genetic lottery, some people are just born with a sensor that's naturally a little less sensitive. Scientists call this blunted reward. And it basically means you need a much bigger signal, more pizza, more ice cream, more chips, to feel the same level of pleasure and satisfaction that somebody else might get from a much smaller amount. This isn't greed, it's a real biological drive for more stimulation, a drive that's totally separate from physical hunger. And then, when you layer on things like stress, anxiety, or depression, well, it's like pouring gasoline on that fire, making those cravings feel absolutely, completely overwhelming. Okay, so we've got these powerful hormones, and we've got this deeply ingrained brain chemistry, and they're both kind of working against our modern goals. But why? Why is our biology wired up this way? To get that, we need to zoom out even further and look at our ancient genetic programming. I like to think of it this way. We are all running an operating system that was brilliantly designed for a world that simply no longer exists. Scientists have a couple of main theories to explain why our bodies are just so darn good at holding on to weight. The older idea is called the thrifty gene hypothesis. It basically suggests that for most of human history, famine was a constant threat. In that world, having genes that made you incredibly efficient at storing every last spare calorie as body fat, well, that was a huge survival advantage. The people with these thrifty genes were the ones who survived the lean times and passed them on. A newer idea is the drifty gene hypothesis. This one argues that about 2 million years ago, once our ancestors mastered tools and fire, we became the planet's top predators. All of a sudden, we didn't need to be super lean and fast to escape being eaten. So without that evolutionary pressure, the genes that put a strict cap on our upper weight limit, they weren't essential anymore. So they were just allowed to drift and mutate randomly over generations. But really, either way you slice it, the conclusion is the same. Our genes are just not optimized for a world where a 2,000-calorie meal is just a drive-through away. For 99.9% of our evolutionary history, our biology was shaped by an environment of scarcity and constant danger. Then, about 10,000 years ago, which in evolutionary terms is just yesterday, agriculture made food a little more reliable. But the real game changer happened in the blink of an eye. Just 50 or 60 years ago, our food environment was completely flipped on its head by the industrial production of ultra-processed, calorie-dense, hyper-palatable foods. Our ancient biology has zero time to adapt. We are running Stone Age software in a space age world. All right, now let's turn our attention inward. to a factor that science is really only just beginning to fully appreciate. There is an entire ecosystem living inside of you that plays a massive, massive role in your metabolism. I'm talking about your gut microbiome. These trillions of bacteria, they are not just passive passengers along for the ride. They are active, influential participants in your health.
Your personal microbiome is just unbelievably powerful. First off, it influences how much energy your body even extracts from the food you eat. It's true. Some people have gut bacteria that are just more efficient at harvesting calories, which means they might absorb more energy from the exact same plate of food than someone else. Second, what you eat directly shapes this ecosystem. You're not just feeding yourself, you're feeding trillions of tiny partners. And here's the most fascinating part. Emerging research suggests the microbiome can hold a kind of memory of past obesity. Even after you lose weight, the ecosystem can stay primed, making it biologically easier to regain that weight. It's a deeply individual factor, where your unique gut world interacts directly with your unique genetic code.
So we've journeyed through these incredibly powerful forces, our hormones, our brain chemistry, our ancient genes, and our inner ecosystem. And hearing all this, I get it. It might be easy to feel a little discouraged, right? Like the deck is completely stacked against us. But knowledge is power. The real question now is, how do we navigate this complex biological landscape? And the answer seems to be a profound shift in our approach. We have to learn to work with our bodies instead of constantly fighting against them. So let's recap, because what so many people are experiencing is truly a perfect biological storm. You've got hormonal alarms screaming famine. You have a brain reward system that can be easily hijacked by modern food. You have a genetic blueprint designed for scarcity, not for a world of abundance. And you've got a gut microbiome that might be holding a memory of a higher weight. All of these systems are working together to defend your body's set point, which is exactly why the simple advice to just eat less and move more can feel impossibly hard, and why willpower alone so often isn't enough to win this biological battle.
And because this biological drive is just so incredibly powerful, modern medicine has been developing tools that work directly on a physiological level to actually help. You can see that patients using a new class of medications called GLP-1s, which work on some of these hormonal pathways we talked about, saw an average total body weight loss of about 10.3%. In contrast, patients who underwent bariatric surgery, which physically and hormonally changes the digestive system, they achieved a significantly greater average weight loss of 28.3%.
The medications are ongoing, weekly injections, and their powerful effects on hunger and feeling full are only there as long as you're taking them. Bariatric surgery, on the other hand, is a one-time procedure that creates more permanent, long-lasting metabolic and hormonal changes. And as we just saw, the average weight loss is significantly higher with surgery. The effect on related conditions like type 2 diabetes is also way more profound. Often it leads to full remission. And here's something that might surprise you. When you look at the average cost over 2 years, the ongoing expense of the medication can actually end up being higher than the one-time cost of surgery. These options really highlight a new way of thinking, one that tries to fundamentally change the body's physiology to counteract that powerful biological drive to regain weight.
So, as we bring our journey to a close, what are the most important things to take away from all this? First, and I really want this one to sink in, weight regain is a physiological defense mechanism. It is not a moral failing. Second, your body has a hormonal thermostat that actively and powerfully fights to restore any lost weight. Third, our ancient genes and brain wiring are just fundamentally mismatched with our modern food world. Fourth, your gut microbiome is a key, highly individual player in this whole story. And finally, all of this means that achieving lasting success often requires us to move beyond just relying on willpower and instead embracing strategies that work with, not against, our powerful biology.
And this leaves us with one last, really important thought to sit with. So many of us spend so much time and energy fighting our bodies, feeling frustrated by them, feeling defeated by them. But after everything we've explored today, the elegant survival systems, the ancient programming, the intricate chemistry, what if the most powerful first step toward a healthier life isn't another diet plan? What if it's just a moment of profound understanding? A moment of forgiving your own biology for simply doing the job it was so brilliantly designed to do?